A sailor enters a sketchy watering hole. In the entrance, a sign reads, "Sausage roll, $10, and underneath it continues, "Hand $13, a curvy barmaid is at the bar." He approaches her. "Are you the one giving the hand?" "Yes, my sweet. Are you feeling lonely? Do you want one?" He says, "No. I will need you to sanitize your hands, though." Taking a seat. "Because I'm having the sausage roll." A woman wakes in the middle of the night to find her husband missing from their bed. Concerned, she slips on her robe and heads downstairs. There he is, sitting at the kitchen table, a cup of coffee in front of him, staring blankly at the wall. A tear rolls down his cheek as he quietly takes a sip. "Is everything okay, dear?" she asks gently, stepping into the room. "Why are you down here at this hour?" He looks up, his expression somber. "Do you remember 20 years ago, when we were dating and you were just 17, he asks. She smiles, touched by his sentimentality. "Of course I do," she replies, sitting down beside him. He hesitates, then continues. "Do you remember when your father caught us in the back seat of my car?" Her smile softens as she nods. Yes, I remember." "And do you remember," he says, his voice thick with emotion, "when he pointed a shotgun at me and said, 'Marry my daughter or spend 20 years in jail'?" "I remember," she says, her voice tender. He wipes another tear away and sighs deeply. "I would have been free today." It was late at night, and the husband was ready to drift off into peaceful sleep. But his wife had other plans. She was feeling nostalgic and in a romantic mood. "You used to hold my hand when we were courting," she said wistfully. With a tired sigh, he reached over, held her hand for a moment, and then turned back, hoping to resume his rest. A few minutes later, her voice broke the silence again. "Then you used to kiss me," she said. Suppressing a groan, he leaned over, gave her a quick peck on the cheek, and settled down once more. Barely 30 seconds passed before she spoke again. "And then you used to bite my neck." Frustrated and fully awake now, the husband threw off the covers and got out of bed. "Where are you going?" she asked, confused. "To get my teeth," he snapped. "This morning, I went through the McDonald's drive-thru, and as an 83-year-old, I admit I took a bit longer than usual to place my order. The young woman behind me honked her horn and seemed frustrated. When I got to the first window, I paid for both my order and hers. The cashier must have told her because she leaned out, waved and mouthed, 'Thank you,' clearly embarrassed. But when I reached the second window, I showed them both receipts and took her food along with mine. Now she had to go back to the end of the line and start over." Moral of the story: don't honk at old folks. We've been around long enough to know a few tricks. A man was working in the garden while his wife was upstairs preparing to take a shower. Realizing he couldn't find the rake, he called out, "Where's the rake?" His wife couldn't hear him clearly, so she yelled back, "What?" Frustrated, he decided to use gestures. He pointed to his eye, then to his knee, and mimicked a raking motion. Still unsure, she yelled, "What?" again. He repeated the gestures, "I need the rake." This time she nodded in understanding and gestured back. She pointed to her eye, then to her left breast, followed by her backside, and finally to her crotch. Completely baffled, the man stormed upstairs and asked, "What the heck was that supposed to mean?" With a smirk, she replied, "I left behind the bush." Ben and Tim want to go drink in a bar. Problem is, they have no money. "No problem," says Ben. "I have a cunning plan. Take this sausage and put it in your boxer." We go into the bar, drink a couple of beer. And when they come with the tab, you open your pant and let the sausage out. I go down on it, and they will kick us out and we won't have to pay. Tim agrees, takes the sausage, and off they go in the bar. They drink, and after 2 or 3 rounds, they see the bartender coming with the tab. So Tim opens his trousers and shows part of the sausage, and Ben goes to town on it. Bartender is not amused and kicks them out. Happy that it works, they go to the next pub. Same game, they drink, have fun, and when the tab arrives, they play dip the sausage and get thrown out. This goes on for a couple of bars, until after one throw down, or throw out. Ben shakes his head and tells Tim, "Sorry, old friend, I can't take any more beer or sausage tonight." Tim looks at him and answers, "You have it easy. I lost the sausage 3 bars ago." It was George the mailman's last day on the job after 35 years of carrying the mail through all kinds of weather to the same neighborhood. When he arrived at the first house on his route, he was greeted by the whole family who congratulated him and sent him on his way with a tidy gift envelope. At the second house, they presented him with a box of fine cigars. The folks at the third house handed him a selection of terrific fishing lures. At the fourth house, he was met at the door by a strikingly beautiful blonde woman in a revealing negligee. She took him by the hand, gently led him through the door, which she closed behind him, and took him up the stairs to the bedroom, where she blew his mind with the most passionate love he had ever experienced. When he had enough, they went downstairs and she fixed him a giant breakfast. Eggs, potatoes, ham, sausage, blueberry waffles, and fresh squeezed orange juice. When he was truly satisfied, she poured him a cup of steaming coffee. As she was pouring, he noticed a dollar bill sticking out from under the cup's bottom edge. "All this was just too wonderful for words," he said. "But what's the dollar for?" "Well," she said, "last night, I told my husband that today would be your last day, and that we should do something special for you. I asked him what to give you. He said, him, give him $1. The breakfast was my idea." After 25 years of marriage, a husband looked at his wife thoughtfully and said, "25 years ago, we had a tiny apartment, an old car, and I slept on a sofa bed. But every night, I was with a 26-year-old blonde. Now we have a beautiful house, a fancy car, and a king-sized bed. But I'm with a 51-year-old woman. It feels like you're not holding up your end of the deal." Without missing a beat, his wife calmly replied, "Why don't you go out and find a 26-year-old blonde? And when you do, I'll make sure you're right back in a small apartment, driving a beat-up car, and sleeping on a sofa bed again." Some lessons in life come with a witty reminder of who's truly in charge. Dave and his wife arrive at a club, and as they approach the entrance, the doorman greets Dave with a friendly, "Hey Dave, how you doing?" His wife looks puzzled and asks, "Have you been to this club before?" "Oh no," says Dave. "He's on my bowling team." As they're seated, a waitress comes over and asks, "Dave, would you like your usual?" She places a Budweiser in front of him. His wife, now a little uneasy, asks, "How did she know you drink Budweiser?" "She's in the ladies' bowling league, honey. We share lanes with them," Dave explains, but it doesn't stop there. A stripper approaches their table, throws her arms around Dave and says, "Hi, Davey. Want your usual table dance, big boy?" At this point, Dave's wife is seething. She grabs her purse and storms out of the club. Dave follows her, spotting her jumping into a cab. As she slams the door, he jumps in beside her. "I swear she must have mistaken me for someone else," Dave pleads, trying to explain. His wife is furious, screaming every insult she can think of, while Dave is desperately trying to calm her down. The cab driver turns his head and, with a deadpan expression, says, "Looks like you picked up a real bitch tonight, Dave." Sometimes a night out isn't quite as simple as it seems. A very large woman in a sleeveless sundress walked into a bar. She raised her right arm, revealing a very hairy armpit, and pointed at the patrons. In a loud voice, she asked, "Which man here will buy a lady a drink?" The bar went silent, as everyone awkwardly avoided her gaze. At the end of the bar, however, a bleary-eyed drunk suddenly slammed his hand on the counter and shouted, "Give the ballerina a drink!" The bartender poured the drink, and the woman chugged it down in one go. Moments later, she repeated her earlier move, raising her arm, showing off her hairy armpit, and asking, "Which man here will buy a lady a drink?" Once again, the same drunk slapped his money on the bar and hollered, "Give the ballerina another drink." Curious, the bartender leaned over to the drunk and asked, "Sir, it's entirely your choice to buy her drinks, but tell me, why do you keep calling her a ballerina?" The drunk grinned and replied, "Any woman who can lift her leg that high has got to be a ballerina." Cheers and laughter erupted in the bar. A well-dressed city biker strides into a gritty tavern deep in the outback of Western Australia. He makes his way to the bar and spots an old, weathered biker, sitting with his arms crossed and staring at a full bowl of chili, lost in thought. After sitting silently for a while, the city biker can't resist and asks, "If you're not gonna eat that, mind if I do?" The grizzled biker turns his head slowly, eyes still distant, and simply says, "Nah, go ahead." Without hesitation, the city biker slides the bowl over, grabs a spoon, and starts wolfing down the chili, savoring each bite. He's nearly finished when he spots something unexpected, a dead mouse at the bottom of the bowl. Horrified, he instantly vomits the chili back into the bowl. The old biker, still calm as ever, looks at him and says, "Yep, that's as far as I got too." Recently, my husband and I went through a McDonald's drive-thru. Our total was $4.25, so I handed the cashier a $5 bill and 25 cents, expecting $1 in change. She hesitated and called the manager, who returned the quarter and said they couldn't process it that way. Instead, I received 75 cents in change. Another time, we had our garage door serviced. The repairman told us the motor was too small. I mentioned we had a 1/2 horsepower motor, the largest available when we bought it. He responded, "No, you need 1/4 horsepower. 4 is bigger than 2. We decided to seek a second opinion. Living in a semi-rural area brings unique moments. A neighbor once called to request the removal of a deer crossing sign, believing it would reduce accidents by encouraging the deer to cross elsewhere. In food service, my daughter once requested minimal lettuce on her taco. The employee apologized, saying they only had iceberg lettuce. At the airport, I was asked, "Has anyone placed anything in your baggage without your knowledge?" I quipped, "If it was without my knowledge, how would I know?" The agent smiled and nodded as if my answer was expected. While crossing the street with a beeping pedestrian light, a co-worker asked what the sound was for. I explained it helped blind pedestrians. Her startled response, "Why would blind people be driving?" Lastly, while picking up our car from a dealership, we learned the keys were locked inside. A mechanic worked diligently to unlock the driver's side door. Meanwhile, I tried the passenger door and found it was already unlocked. When I pointed this out, the mechanic replied, "I already unlocked that side." A man came back home to his wife after a long business journey. After a happy reunion, their parrot suddenly started talking out of nowhere. "Yes, put it in that hole!" It squawked loudly with a female voice. "What the hell?" said the man. "Where did the parrot learn that?" "No, it's not what you think," said his wife. "You see, there was a hole in the kitchen wall, so I called a guy over to get it fixed. He had a bucket of spackling paste with him, and when he arrived and asked, 'Is this the hole you want fixed, ma'am?' I replied with, 'Yes, put it in that hole,' referring to the paste and the hole in the wall. The tension seemed to be over, but then the parrot started talking again. 'Get ready and I'll get on top,' it squawked with a deep masculine voice. 'All right,' yelled the man. 'How do you explain that then?' 'It's not what you think,' said the wife again. 'There was a lamp in the living room that didn't work, so I called over a couple of electricians to fix it. When they got here, they discovered that the ladder they had brought was broken, so they decided that one should sit on the other one's shoulders to reach the lamp.' The man nodded, with doubt in his face. The parrot did, however, not stop chattering. This sausage is so juicy and delicious." It squawked with the same female voice as before. "No, it's not what you think," said the wife with panic in her voice. I didn't have the urge to cook dinner for myself one evening, so I decided to order a pizza with extra sausage. I guess the parrot learned to say that when I took a bite of the pizza and... "You aren't fooling anybody," the man interrupted with, "I'm calling a divorce lawyer." While the man went over to the telephone, his wife grabbed the parrot and said with grief in her voice, "How could you do this to me, you stupid bird?" To which the parrot replied, "Maybe that will teach you to pay for other people's services with actual money. And before you go, here's the deal. I tell jokes on YouTube, but this is no joke. For every 1,000 subscribers and likes on this video, I will find 50+ homeless people and donate $100 each to them. Hit subscribe and let's spread laughs and kindness.